But at that time, if you remember, the North Koreans had captured the Pueblo. And they weren't sure whether I was going to Korea or back to Vietnam. Well, I did board a plane, went back to Vietnam, we landed in the middle of TAC. Our battalion was down around Da Nang. Our infantry companies were up further north, up towards Phu Bai, or Hue City. And if you've heard anything about Vietnam, you know about the Battle of Hue. Eventually, we hopscotched up the coast. We went up from Da Nang up to Phu Bai. Spent a few months in Phu Bai, and then we ended up at Quang Tri just before I was rotated back home. As I said, I was a message center, but whenever I could, I would put myself out in the field with the forward command group. I had that opportunity because once I made E5, I was in charge of the message center group. I took the place of a staff sergeant who rotated back home. The uniform I got on is what we wore in Vietnam, minus all the patches and the ribbons. But it would be just a plain green, these are the jungle boots, and then we'd wear our rank on the collars. And this is Sergeant E5 rank. Anybody got any questions? All right, I got a few pictures.
What year are we talking?
I enlisted in '66.
Uh-huh.
I went to Vietnam in April of '67. I came home October '68. I went back to work at Xerox, where I spent the next, I ended up with about 37 years at Xerox. Retired from there when they offered me a decent package, and I've been driving the school bus for 22 years since then.
Wow.
I've been commander and quartermaster for the local VFW post. Out of the 50-some years that I've been a member of the post, I've probably been an officer there for 30 or 35 years. I'm also currently a president of Vietnam Vets of America, Chapter 20, and we got about 600 and some members.
Are they from all around here or all
They're from all this area, but you know, it's same with the VFW. We do have out-of-state members. You know,
Okay.
They join here and then they move out.
Yeah.
If they don't transfer their membership, then they're still part of our chapter. We just had a meeting. We had 70-some at our last meeting.
Oh, wow.
Not all veterans. Some of them are wives, because the wives do come to our meetings. All right, I mentioned that we were on the BLT. At that time, this is a picture of me aboard ship. You can pass it around if you want.
Still handsome. You were a cutie man, you were a cutie pie.
This is a picture of me in country.
Oh, oh, very happy over there, you see.
That was it, down at Red Beach. Red Beach was a supply area down around Da Nang.
Oh,
And what had happened, the reason we were there, is one of the first operations that the BLT went on after I joined them was up around Quezon. It was the hill battles. Hill 881, 861. Our battalion took a lot of casualties up there. At that time, I didn't go in country, I stayed aboard ship, because they didn't send out everybody in. But the hardest part for me,
How old were you here?
20.
Young.
No, that would have been 21. But the hardest part for me was
That's
in the
young.
morning, they would bring the body bags back.
Mm.
And I was at, where I was on the ship, I could just walk out on like a catwalk, and it was a small carrier, but I could see the deck. And I could see when the choppers were landing and they were taking the bodies off the chopper. That was very hard for me.
everybody, for everybody.
Yes. But the problem we had up there is when they just came out with the M16s, and they had a lot of them jammed.
Oh,
And the reason, they didn't know why, and there was a captain who, lieutenant or captain got an interview by Life magazine. And he gave him a story about the M16s, which the command didn't like. So once we went back aboard ship, everybody had to take their rifle. We stood out on the elevators that were on the small carrier, and we fired our rifle till they jammed. And they had people there from Colt
Oh, really?
who would tear them down and find out what the problem was.
Oh.
So eventually they got that squared away. After that, we went down to Red Beach, which is where that picture was taken, and everybody that was in that lieutenant's company had to be interviewed by the higher-ups to find out what was going on.
Oh,
Needless to say, he didn't advance any further in rank. So. But that was back in April of '60 something.
Do you think they would have solved the problem if he hadn't brought it to the media?
Well, they knew they had a problem, but the other thing was if your rifle jammed, they had a cleaning rod that you could use to try and break it, but one for every 3 people. Everybody didn't have one.
oh, jeez, nice.
So that, those were issues that happened back in the early part. All right, when I was out in the field, this is a picture out in the field. There's my my bed.
Yeah.
And this picture is taken up at Queen Tree,
Always
or
wondered
not,
if they
Kate, Down Hot. That's right on the Quaviat River. And those are
Yeah, oh, yeah.
those are people that were in my section that I served with.
Nice pictures.
And this is just outside of Quezon. As you can see, I got my lawn chair there on top of the bunker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The first operation I did go in country on, we were right up in the DMZ. We were digging in. We took a few short rounds, so everybody dug a little faster. But I was out on the perimeter in the afternoon, and we had one of our line companies was coming up to take over part of the perimeter. At that time, we took 170-some rounds of artillery and mortars, rockets. I was on the perimeter, 3 rounds coming in at a time. I would come up with my rifle and looking, because there's a hill slope in front of us, so I'm looking down there making sure nothing's coming up. Then I would duck down, wait for the next 3 rounds to hit. Come up again. And one of those rounds landed somewhere where the concussion dropped in, hit the canteens and stuff I had lined up on the dirt that we dug out to make the holes. That came in on top of me, but that was an experience. And I did have probably a young man 10 yards from me that took a direct hit. But that was my baptism under fire there. And as I say, even after that, I extended another 6 months to stay there. If you see pictures of the country, it was a beautiful country. Green, except where the bomb craters were. But I got pictures because I would do a lot of flying on helicopters. They would send me down to try and beg, borrow, and steal radio parts. That was a tough thing for Marine Corps, is to get handsets and antennas for our radios. So they put me on a chopper, send me down to Da Nang to try and get those parts. And I had my little camera with me, so I would take pictures as we were flying.
Oh,
beautiful.
My little Petrie 7.
Remember that?
All right, that's pretty much my story. If anybody's got any questions or...
Were you married at the time?
No,
or not?
no. I came home
Buddies
in
and
'68. A good friend of mine, neighbor, Bucky Miller, I don't know if anybody knew Bucky, lived a couple doors down. He gave me an application. He said, here, fill this out. I'm going to pay for your membership in the VFW. So I started going to the VFW, and that's where I met my wife.
Through Don.
Yes, Don and Bobby were, Don was vice president of VFW. Bobby did all the catering for the different parties and stuff they had there. So we met there, and fall of '69 we married in September '70. And we just celebrated our 53rd anniversary.
Wow.
Or 54th, 54th.
Congratulations. Very good.
Anything else?
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I got some of those.
I thought you don't have, so I can give you.
All right, as I
Everybody can
mentioned-
have some.
November 10th is the Marine Corps birthday. 249 years. It'll be a big celebration next year.
Right.
Last week we had the Veterans Day Parade, 3rd annual one. That was started by Adam Bellow. Vietnam veterans were the Grand Marshals, which was a big honor for us because it's also the 50th anniversary of the end of the war coming up next spring.
Nice.
Tonight, Marine Corps Ball. We get dressed up in our unit. I do have a set of blues now, so I'll be in blues and.
You still look very nice on that.
Where's the?
The Marine Corps Ball this year is at the Marriott Airport Hotel
In Greece.
by 390 in Greece.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're looking forward. It's been at the Holodome for the last few years, but the food got terrible and they weren't too accommodating. So we're kind of looking forward to that. We do have. If you're familiar with anything with the Marine Corps birthday, they do a cake cutting. There's a regular ceremony that goes along with that. They get the swords out.
Nice.
And the whole part of that ceremony is whoever the guest of honor is gets that first piece of cake. Right, that second piece of cake is given to the oldest Marine present.
Oh, cool.
He in turn passes that to the youngest Marine,
Oh, no.
which shows, symbolizes the passing of experience and knowledge down to the younger generations just starting. And then he gets the third piece.
Nice.
Traditions.
It's been a tradition for years, yes. Anybody else? Well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting me. I'm going to leave the map here
Yeah.
for the museum if you want to take a look at it. Anything above this point, let's see if I can.
Yeah, Charles,
This
yeah,
is the
Charles-
DMZ.
Oh, yeah.
Can you
So-
see it?
This was North Vietnam.
Right,
This was South Vietnam.
yeah.
All right, this red line across here marks the boundary of I Corps. I was all over I Corps.
Wow. And I'm from Saigon, right here. It was born and raised.
Oh, you were in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it good?
But I'm going to leave this here for the museum, so.
Okay. Thank you.
I wouldn't be surprised if you know my father. Oh, cool. He's a lieutenant colonel for the South Vietnamese Army. He's one of the American soldiers.
How would I know him?
He would be with you.
We
Yeah.
didn't have any, we didn't operate with any
In the
Arvins.
Vietnamese, because he was in all the area, the British soldier.
The only time we had Arvins with us was when, up in the DMZ, when we got all the rounds coming in.
Yeah, because he was in all the Union, Cajun, and all those stuff like that. So I get-
Bill,
Yes,
guess it's all yours.
yes, sir.
And I'm on my way to the ball.
That's great.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you, Charlie.
What do you want to do?
Oh, I have some slides
Huh?
on the show. Mine's
What'd you
mostly
say?
at the end of the work, so I need to make it pretty.
Yeah, do you want, I want him to come over here. Can he tell you?
But,
Isn't it Charlie?
slide
Or-
first.
Now, Tony,
How you
just say
doing?
thank you, Charles.
Oh,
Good, how
okay.
you doing? You doing okay? I was thinking about Bob the other day, because of, all the stuff going on for the veterans. And you know, Bob and I we had 5 cousins in 65. Bob and I were
And
the
so
only
why don't
3
you
that
come over
served.
here and I'll say thank you to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay? And
Yeah.
mention your name.
I have 3 years ago.
There you go.
This is for the camera.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
No, you're all right. You're all right.
Yeah.
Thanks,
but
thank you
I'll pay
to
it
Charlie
back now.
for all that he's done for the veterans and to continue to serve in a leadership role for all the vets. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation, and I certainly enjoy coming in and talking to people about some of my experiences, and what we really enjoy is going into the schools and talking to the students and listening to some of their questions, trying to. One thing I didn't mention, I've been involved with Honor Flight. I went down on Mission 38 with a Korean friend of mine, a Korean veteran friend. He needed a guardian. Every veteran that goes down with a guardian.
Where's the center there?
Ever since then, we have been at the airport to welcome the missions home.
Yeah, I had this.
I went as a veteran on Mission
My
74.
grandson come over and didn't know what this.
My grandson went down with me, and we had a ball.
6 years old.
Since then, I've become a volunteer, so I've been speaking at different events, talking about Honor Flight. And one of the experiences I had was going down to Naples Elementary School. And I was talking to students who are writing letters to these veterans.
Oh, nice.
The one thing that happens on Honor Flight is every veteran will get a stack of letters that are written by school kids. They are not written to just a veteran, they're written to him personally. So there's they share a little bit of the history or background with each of these kids. So when they write that letter, it's to Mr. Bill or Mr. Clark. Now when I came home on Mission 77, we come off the plane, we walk the length of the upstairs section. We go down and then we come back the other way. As I was walking along the upstairs, I heard a little voice say, "I wrote you a letter." There was a little girl. She saw my name tag. So I stopped, we talked, I got a picture with her, which I would love to have shared, but I wouldn't do it unless I had her parents' permission. And they never got back to me.
Oh, what a shame.
But every veteran that goes gets those letters. It's mail call. And I know Bill has been, if you've never been to the airport for a welcome home ceremony, do it.
Yeah, heartwarming.
I wanted to say, thank Kim for reminding me, but the museum makes a donation in their names to Honor Flight. Because, it's special that they've come to share their story here. And so that's one way that we recognize it.
The last couple of missions, I've been down to the airport at 3 o'clock in the morning to hand out boarding passes to see them off on a Saturday morning, so.
Charlie, have you ever heard of Wreaths Across America?
Yes,
Well, I'm involved in that too. It was a big show on last week on PBS about the Sullivans that started it.
Right, yes.
And so I was taking pictures.
Well, for the Wreaths Across America, I've been in touch with Cherry Woods.
Yeah.
That's gotta go up.
I have all the maps and the lists because I'm also in charge of putting the flags in the cemeteries on Memorial Day. And currently, we are placing over 2,300 flags here in Webster
Wow,
in the 5 cemeteries.
You ready?
Okay, now go up.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to get all the cemeteries in Webster, including Holy Trinity, which is
Holy Trinity's just starting this year.
just starting, yeah.
Okay, I'm Bill Schrader, and also a good friend of Charlie's. Joined the VFW here in Webster back in '07.
Okay,
I
stay here.
grew up in the city of Rochester, and unlike Charles, who lived here all the time, we never moved to Webster until 1990. But where I grew up in the city, eventually I ended up at RIT, so I finished there in the first week of June of '71. And 3 weeks later, I got my draft notice right after I got out of RIT. So I was down in Fort Dix, New Jersey. So at the time, if you were in any branch of service, when you went through boot camp, they were all designed to train the vets to deal with the conditions you'd meet if you went to Vietnam. I mean, you had to crawl on the ground. Everything was there. As he mentioned the M16s, well, by '71, the M16 was the the rifle that we used, the weapon of choice that was used in Vietnam. We were all trained on it in boot camp, along with the M60 machine gun and a few other things that we would know we would have to use over there. But basically, that's what boot camp was about at that time. So I was in, when I first went in, of course, when you go in and you're drafted, you really don't have much choice where you're going to be going. So the first assignment after that, after boot camp, I had to go see the first sergeant in our basic company because I was the only one in the whole company that got designated a 76D MOS. And so I went and said, what is this all about? And he said, you're the only one, you're going to Fort Harrison, Indiana. I said, really? Yeah, I said, what is Fort Harrison? He said, it's the U.S. Army Finance School. I said, wow, fantastic, you know. So in the fall of '71, I was in boot camp during the summer, so right after we got out, a week before Labor Day, I flew out to Indianapolis and joined up there, and I was in a classroom, just like the RIT classroom. We all had computers, or not computers, but adding machines. And almost everybody in there had a background in accounting. And my bunkmate, as you would say there, he was from Florida, Jim Smith. He was already a CPA. He had graduated in Florida, got a CPA right out of college, which was a little bit more difficult if you were from New York. But him and I got along really great. So after our AIT training, they took most of us and they sent us down to Fort Gordon, Georgia. We were a permanent party there from November of '71 until April '72. In April '72, the people that I went down there with, we all got new orders in April. And half of them went to Germany, and the other half, which I was a part of, went to Vietnam. So I was scheduled to be in Vietnam the first week of June, which that's where I ended up the first week of June of '72. So I basically served over in Vietnam the very last year that the military were assigned to be there. So I was there from June 4th, around June 3rd or 4th of '72, right to March 29th, 1973. And I was in the big pullout. I've got some slides which when I was over there, one of the big things at that point in time, '72, most all the guys that I was with, first thing you bought was a camera. You went to the PX, bought a camera to take pictures. So, and of course, one of the things, in fact, Barb was married to my cousin. She's a cousin from Bob Quinn, who was unfortunately no longer with us. But Bob and I were the only two from my family at that time that served in Vietnam. But my dad was very great because he was at Kodak at the time. So anybody needed film, the film would come to me over there, and I would give film out to one of my friends was from North Dakota, and he had a special 35mm camera. So I called my dad, or I wrote a letter. I said, can you send us some infrared film? Yeah, I can get it. So he sent it to us. He'd send me film for mine. So as a result, I ended up, I'm going to only show you a part of it, but I tried to narrow it down so it won't take too long. But I have like more than 400 slides from the time I entered Vietnam in June till when I got out. But the part I'm going to show you is taken in '73, and it was the last couple months. You'll see some of the guys I served with, and I have a couple pictures of what it looked like at Camp Alpha the day they moved us all out. So I thought maybe you might appreciate. You'll see some pictures there of Saigon and some of the areas around Saigon that I got pictures of while I was there. So to give you a little idea of what the country looked like then. If I had more time, and I don't want to prolong the speech I'm going to give, but I also found a group of slides that my wife and I took in 2001 when we took our kids back to Vietnam. So, and I've had some of the pictures I took in 2001 were of places that I saw back in 1972. So I had some duplicates, but that's for another day, and I could go through that. But my lovely wife is here, and she wore her dress, a traditional dress, and I had actually met her in Vietnam. We worked together for a while. I met her when I was in Saigon, because the last half of my duty over there was in October of '72. We shut down the military base at Long Binh, which was about 30 miles outside of Saigon. It was a very large complex, and even though I worked most of the time was in an office there, At night, I still pulled guard duty, and, you know, you had these towers, 60-foot towers, or metal towers, and they had enough ammunition in those towers, you could run a whole war off of it. But I had to go up there, and I had to take my M60 machine gun, M16 that was assigned to me, and an M79 grenade launcher. And then I'd sit in the tower from midnight to 6 in the morning. And so that was part of my duty. You get back, take a shower, and then I'd go to work in the office. So,
Oh, gosh.
but when you're in your early 20s, somehow you can sort of roll the punches and be allowed sleep. But that's a little bit of my experience. But before I go any further, I just want to show you the slides. And afterwards, you can ask me any questions about my tour, or ask my wife anything you might ask her when you see, because you're going to see pictures of her that I took when she was, when I met her over there in '73. But I got back around the 29th of March of that year. And
How old were you?
back at, I would have been about 27, 28. Yeah, because when I went in, I was already 24 years old in '71. So, and after that, one funny thing, when I was over in Vietnam, you'll see a picture of one of my roommates, Steve Hitt. I never found out what happened to him after we left. He was from Ohio. Never kept track of him. I wish I had. He was a character. Him and I got along real well over there. And my mother, for that year, my birthday's the end of October. So just about the end of October, I get this package from home, and my mother made me this applesauce cake, which it had all the ingredients in it, so it wouldn't spoil, because over there it's hot. I mean, we're talking 90, 95 degree temperatures and about the same humidity year-round. There's only two climates over there. You go over in the rainy season, is from April to October. October and April is the dry season, but the temperature is about the same. So you want to know, you have to deal with heat if you're going to go over there. But, you know, it's just, as Charlie said, it's a beautiful country. He was in a different section than I was. I never got out to Da Nang or any of those parts. But I'll show you a little bit about where I was serving. Then you can ask me questions about it, because I really sort of represent the time when our military was closing down the military operation that we had over there. And they brought us all home back in March of '73. My wife came over here in '75, and I sponsored her when she got out. She continued to work for the U.S. government after the military left. She was with what was called the Defense Attaché Office, and we still had civilians working in Vietnam right up until the fall of Saigon, and she was with them. And then, unfortunately, she wasn't able to get transportation from the U.S. to get out of there. But her and her sister jumped on a ship, and she'll tell you a little bit about that. And she made it over here by August of '75, and 2 years later we got married. So
How did you meet?
we met in Vietnam. She was in the office. She worked in the office that I got assigned to when I got moved down to Tan Son Nhut Air Base, because that's where our unit was set down to. And we were part of MACV, which is a support group for the Army. So I worked in the office where she was, and then so we got to meet. So the funniest part was, you know, we weren't really friends over there at the time. So I took her out. Our first date was I think early in Lent of '73. It was toward the end of February, and I was on a Friday, so I invited her to go to the PX with me, and I bought her a tuna fish sandwich. That was our first date, so that's how it started.
Yeah, we couldn't eat meat.
I
married him
because of
tuna sandwich.
That's how we started. But without getting in further, I'm going to show you a few of the slides, and then you'll have a better picture of what I was doing over there. You're going to see some pictures of my roommate and some of my other fellows, and some of the things that we saw.
Yeah.
One of the advantages I had when I was in Tan Son Nhut Air Base, where on weekends you could take tours of Saigon and the area. They had a bus to take you out. You won't see a lot of the war that like Charlie saw, but you'll see what it looked like back at that time.
Thank you.
So,
You, I know. I just want to
yeah, you
ask
might want to turn the lights down.
one thing from history.
Bill.
When he was in Vietnam, and he worked in the office, it was a very tough job, because he only man in the office with 30 women.
Oh, gosh.
That's tough job.
Yeah, I would think.
You think? And then we come home and
Young women too.
yeah, young woman, the way you see my picture. Yeah. So his parents say, what kind of war are you in? I really don't know.
He must have enjoyed your sense of humor. You
Pardon?
look like you have a nice sense of humor.
Yeah, life
You
is too
must have
short.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thank
I think
you.
I can lower it. No, what I'll do is lower the screen.
Oh, unless you want to lift that up, you want a couple books
All right.
underneath?
How are you doing?
No, don't lift it up. It's gotta be tilted.
You sure you don't want to be here?
Yeah. So let me lower the screen.
If you're gonna
and
tell me, I'll say
I
yes.
got it in the right direction.
All right. I'll move someplace I can see. Move
You sure?
here. Yeah.
Okay.
My grandson wasn't playing with the screen when he was home, but I'll just lower it a little bit.
Back here with you.
There you go, that's,
Good.
yeah,
That
that's
look
good.
better?
Yeah. Here she is.
Yeah, there we go.
You can show the two pictures of the people right there.
Wow.
You wanna sit so you can see
That
what
was,
he's
you know,
showing?
let's go through
You
this
wanna
sort of
see where
quickly.
he's showing
These were
everything?
pictures I took.
Oh, yeah, I saw many times.
On the way back to Vietnam, I had to go for I got a week or 2 weeks off in January of '73 to go back home, so I came back home.
I'll sit on
Peter?
And let me lower it a
I
little
got
bit more.
married my first time around.
That's not
In the background, the fronds.
This isn't Vietnam, this is
You can
Hawaii.
show the picture.
I thought I don't have that.
This is in Vietnam?
No, I, on my way back to Vietnam in '73, I had a couple weeks off. I spent 2 days in Hawaii, because that's where I had to transfer
You look
to get the
just
plane
like
to go
right
back to
now.
Vietnam. So I took some pictures while I was there.
Oh, yeah,
So
in China.
I'll just
I
go
never
this,
get out of
this,
China when I go to until I come back. Very
Yeah.
well.
Probably a lot of people have been there, and you probably saw a lot of this
Have you seen
already.
my picture?
If you
Oh, I
had been
did.
to
Very
Hawaii.
pretty. I don't know if they did.
Yeah, I was on Oahu, so a lot of this is
See my
near
picture?
Waikiki Beach. That was, they said that was some of the people I took a tour on.
The dress I wear.
It's nice.
Yeah.
That was the
Well, my
hotel I
first
stayed
day,
in. And the Army gave me a good rate.
Oh, that's very nice.
Okay, Waikiki and Diamond Head. That's not Vietnam. Yeah. There we go. That was the Sheraton. I believe it or not, I gotta tell you,
My
this,
grandson was
today, if you were
stationed
gonna stay at
in
that
Hawaii for
hotel,
2
it's probably
years
$500 or
with
$600
the Air
a
Force.
night. Now, this was in
It was a tough
'73.
break.
The Sheraton Waikiki is one of the largest hotels. Just to give you a comparison, when I got over there, I went to the military base, and then they said, you know, if you want, you can stay in one of these places. So I went over here and I told them I was U.S. Army, I was headed back to Vietnam. They gave me an oceanfront room for 2 nights, $18 a night.
Oh, my God.
Now, I know you'll never see that in
No,
Hawaii.
yeah.
18 bucks a night.
That's
I
what it
think.
costs for a cup of coffee there.
Oh, well, I went back in '97, we stayed at the Outrigger, it was almost $400 a night. So, I'll get out of this. As I said, I took these from my parents and, oh, here we go. On the way back, we stopped in, where's this? Oh, one of the, I'm not gonna be able to name the place. It's an airport over in the Philippines. This was in the capital of the Philippines, but they had a fire there, and the part of the airport terminal had already burned out. So I got a picture of one of our planes stopped there. Now we're back in Vietnam. I was on the deck of our hooch where I lived, and I wanted to show Charlie this. Right across from us, there's a barracks, and every morning these guys lined up for in formation, spit shine shoes and everything. That was a whole contingent of Marines. They were all in the Marine Corps, which Charlie would have appreciated because he was a Marine Corps vet. So those were the Marines that were stationed at our at Tan Son Nhut Air Base. I was in the Army. Meantime, we weren't quite as polished as that, but I'll get into that. Another one of them. And these are our guys. This is the Army. That's the way we've dressed. What you saw with the Marine, now you're looking at the U.S. Army. The guy standing with the glasses, he's a second lieutenant of our company. And the other fellow sitting on the table far over was also a second lieutenant. And a couple of those. The one closest here with a khaki uniform was a good friend of mine, Chuck Marquez. Him and I were the same rank. In fact, we out processed on the same day. But that was our barracks that we lived in. What we did is, this particular weekend, the fellow with the sunglasses, he was a good friend of mine, Dave Batten from North Carolina. He was also our company clerk. He had access to different vehicles. You'll see a picture of him. We had to go from Tansanute back to Long Bend for something. I rode along with him that day. We went back, but he was a great guy. He was a school teacher before he came over to Vietnam. I haven't kept in contact, but him and I got along really well.
I retired from Bosch along.
That was our cookout.
22
A
years.
little bit about this, when we were over there, our company commander, he was able to arrange, we had these barrels where he could charcoal, so this one time he put on a company party for our company, and he procured a bunch of nice sirloin steaks from the PX that we got. So that's why they're all standing around waiting for the steaks to get done. And there was another wagon that was more popular. There's Dave again. He's steak. He knew how to cook steak. He was one of our cooks. But that was a more popular wagon. We had this other Army wagon full of ice, but that was full of beer. So for a Saturday afternoon, it gave us a little relief from all the duties we had to go through all week long. So this was a little bit of the fun we had when we were over there. Besides the work we did all week long. That's one of the cooks, they are doing the steaks.
A lot of smoke.
And the other fellow, large guy, he was a sergeant in the company. He worked in one of the offices there. I didn't get to know him too well, but he came around for the stakeout. Of course, yeah. And that's our barracks. This was what they looked like in Tansanute Air Base. They were all two-story. The bottom level had your latrines and showers. The upper level were the bunks. They were pretty much open air. Along the side, they were only screened in. It never got cold over there, so you didn't have to worry about that. But you wanted as much fresh air as you could get. So.
And where was this?
This was in Tansanute Air Base. It was said that each one of these barracks that they built, they were all built by American contractors that had gone over there, probably in the 60s to build these. And each one of them cost like $32,000 to build. That's what the government paid to have them done. So that all got left to the Vietnamese when we left. And here's a picture of my wife. At that time, this is a girl I got in the office. So there's a little story behind this. It was around Tet, and it was in February that year they held a Tet holiday. Now I wasn't aware too much, but she explained to me what the holiday was about. They actually shut down the office for 3 days, and all the Vietnamese who worked in our office had off for the Tet holiday. So my wife came from a family of about 10 or 11 children. So I gave her some money. I asked her what she would like because her birthday was around that time. She said, one of the things we have a tradition. On Tet, we always like to wear new clothes. So I gave her money to buy that dress. She had that specific, so that she wore that the day, and that was a gift I gave her for her birthday that year. So that was what she looked like back in '73. Of course, we were all a lot younger back then, but
She's still beautiful.
there it is. Yeah, a nice picture, yeah. So. And this was on one of the weekend excursions that went on. The guys in the khakis were all friends of mine. We took a little military. They had these tours. We went around to this area. This was a, I don't know, some sort of Vietnamese church or whatever. I took some pictures of the guys over there with a piece of board. Now we were out. This is a water buffalo. They were out there. Now this was a dry season, but we're talking, January, February, March area, and there was hardly no rain at that time of the year. That was a water buffalo. And then we found a cat. I got a picture of it, cute. Just to bring it home to my parents, they had a cat tonight. I took a picture of it in front of one of the villages there. And okay, these two guys were really super. The one on the left is Chuck Marquez. Him and I were really good. He worked together with me in the same outfit. The other fellow, was a good, I can't remember his name, but he actually had a European background. He was born over in Europe and he came to the United States and he enlisted in the U.S. Army. And he was a fantastic person. He was like an E5.
Oh, yeah.
And on the weekends, we go around, you see he's got a camera. I have one similar to that, which I took pictures. But the three of us would travel around the city of Saigon, around the area. And as I said, that guy, I'm sure he had a really nice family after he got out of the service, but he loved the kids. These were a couple of cute little kids. They were just impressed by him. They lived at this little, I think it was almost like a Buddhist area or a farm that they had out here. You'll see some other parts of it. But we asked the kids if we could get a picture of them, so we got it in there and I got a picture of them there. This is what they were growing. My wife had explained what that is. I didn't know what it was.
What is it?
It was a melon of some sort.
Oh, coconut?
Coconut.
Is that a coconut? Okay.
It looks like a
You know what a coconut is, right?
Yeah.
And here we are. This is a picture of me and Chuck. This was outside. This was an outside Buddhist temple that we had stopped at. This was maybe about 5 or 10 miles outside of Saigon. And it's quite a beautiful thing. It was all, beautiful statues and that. People came. You'll see there was a monk here too. Down here you see it. Well, this is a part of the Saigon River going back into Saigon we saw. Those are all houseboats where people actually live on those boats. And kids swimming in the Saigon River, which I wouldn't do, but I guess for them it wasn't a problem. Then the houseboats, some of them painted really nice. This is the road that we came back and get to Tatsunut Air Base. So we went by the There's one that's all painted up, and these things have motors. They can go up and down the river there with them, and their livelihoods is right there on their boat. And a little mama-san stand on the street. They had a lot of these sidewalk vendors. On the weekend, they'd be out there selling all their food and everything. Some of the stuff was pretty good if you tried it. And back in the harbor that day, here was a large commercial freighter bringing supplies in. A lot of it was probably brought in for the military or for the people in Saigon. Yeah, one of the big ships that was able to come in off the South China Sea into this, because this was the Saigon harbor. Now this is a story, if you can see that any well. One of the things that all the guys over there love to bring home is these ceramic elephants. And this was a store that sold them. I actually got one and I brought one home. They had room for one in my whole bag and I threw it in there. My roommate didn't have room for it. Right now it's sitting outside by the side of my garage. It's a little ornament in the garden. But these guys were crazy about these things. They had small ones, they had big ones. When we went to the shop on one of the tours, we actually saw where they sell them and make them. It's another one of the statues there at the place where they have all those
What are they
elephants.
made out of?
What?
What are they made out of?
They're all ceramic. They're all
Okay.
similar ceramic material. But they do a really nice job.
Great.
Now this is in downtown Saigon. This was I'm going to say a Buddhist temple. It was on a Sunday, and they were doing a celebration. You'll see a little smoke that's all from the incense they're burning. And that was one of my buddies there. We were on the outside. You could actually go up to where the temple was. An older temple there in Saigon. There we are. There's a whole bunch of us. One of them was a sergeant. One of them, I think, is my friend, Chuck Nick, from California. There he is. There's my buddy again. He loved little kids. He wanted a picture of this little girl. And they said he would probably be the nicest. He probably met the best father of ever, because he just loved the kids over there. What a great father. I think he wanted to stay there, actually. But he was a great guy. And they said, these people, they're all my friends, and when you're in the service, they're your family. That's who you count on for support, There he is again. Yeah, I couldn't get over that picture of him. And that's outside of the temple. You see the incense burning. It's on a Sunday. And they let us go over there and check it out and see what it was like. Okay, this is the U.S. Embassy in downtown Saigon. This was headquarters for the U.S. military, for the U.S. For our person that headed up the embassy over there. Beautiful facility. In fact, this all got taken over by the North Vietnamese after we left, but I'm not sure if we regained access to it since we now have an ambassador over there now. Since I think '95, when Clinton was over there, he allowed us to
Bill,
get down.
can I say one thing in there?
What's that?
You see that the small vehicle
Oh, little-
transportation,
yeah, little
they
three-wheel
have three
vehicle.
wheels. And
That's
So you
then
can see it.
for
Yeah.
public transportation,
Yeah.
the small one right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
okay.
rode in one of those.
They call
when
Lambretta.
we went out one time in the city. I got me back with
I
one
don't
of the
think
other
they
guys. Yeah, that's the entrance to the embassy there. You see the American flag on the side. Yeah. A picture of it, the tree there. Yeah, they actually can land helicopters up on the roof of that. Yeah. There was my two buddies again on the side of front. It was a hot afternoon. You remember, we started out early, so this was like 4 o'clock, and it was hot. It was in the 90s. Poor fellow from Europe, the heat was really getting to him. So, and the American flag, I got a picture of him with the American flag. You know. And there we are. Now we're at John F. Kennedy Square. This is in Saigon. And this is in front of the Catholic Church. It's a French church that was built there over 100 years ago.
Is that the other side is my high school?
I'm getting there. This was a post office, which
That's
was
the
the other
post
side of the
office.
church. That was in the afternoon, 20 minutes.
That
before.
post office was built in the by
the
French
French,
government,
the
when we
French,
under French.
Oh,
When they were over
100
there.
years ago.
Very ornate looking.
Years ago.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
And here's the church.
Wow.
This is over 100 years
The
old.
church, the
That
French
was the
built for
Catholic
us.
church
Oh,
in
really?
downtown Saigon. A few of us who were Roman Catholics, we used to go there. If we went there for a mass one time while we were there. Yeah, beautiful church.
Yeah.
And it's a little farther away in the picture, but that's in the John F. Kennedy Square that they named after the President Kennedy. That's the area. And that's a Parliament building for the South Vietnamese government.
Yep.
That's where they were stationed at that time. And this was a statue right across from there to honor the South Vietnamese soldiers who were fighting against the Northern thing.
It's a beautiful statue.
That was a beautiful statue, but after
Yeah, but
the North took, they tore it down.
No,
Yeah.
really?
But that was in honor of the gallantry of the South Vietnamese Army. Yeah. And this was President Thu's palace. That was the South Vietnamese president. That's where he lived. This is that was all, of course, guarded off near him. That was his palace.
The White House.
And the White House for South. Now I have a little story. I had actually, years after this, I did meet President Thu back in 1997. His son, believe it or not, came to Rochester in 1990. His son, well, when they came to the United States, President Thu and his family lived outside of Boston. And he had 2 sons, I think a daughter. And the one son went to Tufts University and became a dentist. So in the summer of 1990, Dr. Lauren, who I worked with, I was the controller for Dental Associates, called Bill. I've got a dentist coming in. He wants to do an interview with our practice. He said he's coming in from Boston, and he goes to Tufts. He's a graduate of Tufts. He said, would you and your wife take him out to dinner tonight? He's Vietnamese. I said, well, by all means. So I was still living in the city at the time, so I met him, Dr. Nguyen, came in, a really nice fellow. We took him to a Vietnamese restaurant on Monroe Avenue. It's not there anymore, but they had really good food. Plus he came over to the house, we had a couple of drinks, and I entertained him for the evening. And then he said, Bill, I really liked the practice, but he said, I'm going to be looking at another one in Syracuse. Can I get back to you guys later on my decision? I said, wait, Dr. Nguyen, take your time. Whatever you decide, if you come back, just give us a call. We'll be happy to. So at Christmas time, he called me and said, Bill, I've decided I want to join Dental Associates. I said, great. So I ran and told Dr. Roy, I said, remember Dr. Nguyen? Yeah. He wants to join the practice. So we worked up a contract for him. And he came here during Christmas, and at the time, I think he came to our house for a dinner that night. But he started in January of 1991. Now, nobody really knew much about his background. So, of course, he worked at our Greece office for a while. Then we assigned him to the Southtown office, which was over in Southtown Plaza. And, but I got to know him, because he was single at the time, and then his cousin, Dr. Wu, came a couple of years later and worked with us. So we'd have him over at our house occasionally for dinner. My wife, they love my wife's cooking. So in 1990, I think it was early 97, he came, Bill, I got to talk to you. I said, what's that, Dr. Wu? He said, I'm planning to get married this summer. He said, it's going to be in California, in Santa, I think Santa Barbara. He said, it's a 4-star hotel over there. He said, and I'd like to invite you and Wick to come out for that. I said, boy, we'd be more than pleasure. I found out then his father was wind band too. So I had to rent a tuxedo to go to the reception because everybody had to be in a black tie and a tuxedo, 4-star restaurant. And President Tu came over to our table, and when we were at the reception, he said, oh, Mr. Schrader, I'm so happy you and your wife could join us. He said, you know, I spent a lot of time practicing your name. I wrote out all the invitations for my son's wedding. I said, Mr. President Tu, I said, well, that's fantastic. I said, a lot of people there, it was a couple hundred people. I said, you had quite a job. Well, he said, I enjoyed it. He said, it's for my son. So I actually had a chance to meet him at that time and his wife, and fantastic reception they had. A lot of the people that were in government with him in Saigon were there. They live in California now. They were all at the wedding. So I got to meet quite a few of his. I forgot one of his press secretary got his main speech for Dr. Wynn and his wife. But that was I've got separate pictures from the wedding. Sometimes I could bring it over. I can show people. But that was where it was. But it was a small world sort of thing that someday I'd actually meet the president.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is downtown Saigon. I got a kick out of seeing
Shell
Shell
maybe,
Station.
yeah.
I used to buy Shell gas over here.
That's what they have
Before I
there.
went in, I said, well, I had them too. And there's my buddy Chuck. This was a park in downtown Saigon, a water park. We were able to take a tour in downtown Saigon one day and just go down and see the park. And there was our barracks again. We were back. This is what it looked like on a Sunday afternoon when everybody was gone. That was my barracks. And you can see it doesn't look anything like the Marine Corps barracks. A little rough, but that was our home over there for about 5 months. That was it. And I was right the first room, first room to the left. Was, my roommate Riley. I got a picture of him too. Oh, no, these were 2 Vietnamese ladies. They were Mama Sans. They actually cleaned our rooms while we were at work during the
He
day.
has a maid over there.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
Boy, that was
Cleaned up all
That
the
was
mess
tough
we
to
made
take.
at night.
But you give them gifts and things.
Yeah, we did.
Make
It was
my bed.
$6
Yeah.
a month is what
Put a
it cost.
peppermint on
We
the
gave her
pillow.
gifts. I gave her some things before I left that I didn't want to bring home. That was headquarters building in Tansu. And my roommate, you'll see a picture of him in a minute, Steve, he was assigned to the Sunstorm Service Club, which this was at Tansu Air Base. And that, right from the bottom, what that is our swimming pool. This was, I don't remember when I took it, it was on a Sunday, there were like 20 people were there. And that was our mess hall over there on Tansu. And that's the building that Whit worked in.
Yeah,
And that's where I worked on the 2nd floor. That was the FV Annex building in Tansu Base.
A lot of
Pretty
people
all
in the
cement, a
building.
really
Probably,
well-built
yes.
building. And we came under
Yeah.
a rocket attack a few times,
Sure.
but it never bothered the building. That little plant outside there.
hibiscus.
And this is the area, you see those people walking, some of them are women coming to work in the morning, the bus would drop them off at the end of the road and they'd walk in here. The white fenced area is the area where all the I call the brass people, if you were an officer, you lived in there. They had beautiful accommodations for them, captains and lieutenants and whatever. And this was my buddies again. Dave, as I said, was our company driver. That's the van. I went with him one day. We drove up to Long Bend. This was after we had already left there. He had to pick up something. So the 4 of us went up there to be just be along with him, so no problems. We got up there back. Those were all good friends of mine. Yeah. there I am. This is one of the bomb shelters or whatever we had at Long Bend. And the guys would go over there. If you're gonna rocket attack, that's where you went. And this is back at where I worked in Saigon. If you looked out the back window, there were homes back there, and there was this one particular home that actually had an in-ground pool, which is sort of interesting. Back in '73, yeah. And another view behind the Nappy Annex. That's the back area of it too, and a church that was out there as well. That was Shockey. He was wore out. Those fans, every one of us had a fan, and I'll tell you, the heat was pretty. When you got in bed, you turned that fan on, you just laid there with a fan on you all night long. And okay, now this is at the end. This was March 28th, 29th. These were all the people that were getting ready to go out of country, and we had to. This was called Camp Alpha at the time. It was at Tansanute. So he took all our stuff down here, we lined up, and they filled bus after bus on us up, took us out to the air base to fly us back home. So this was right around the 29th when we were on our way back home.
What camp?
We were in Tansanute Air Base. It was McPhee Annex, but this was part of the annex. But all the guys there were from the U.S. Army, and we all got our backpacks and travel
What was
gear
the
and everything
year?
else, had it all.
1973.
Yeah,
73.
So this is
He
what it
was
looked
the
like.
last one get out of Vietnam.
Mass,
73.
mass exodus out of the country. There with my buddy Chucky was there. We had our fatigues on, and him and I were on the same plane coming back. That was part of the military. We were coming out of Vietnam going in. Now we're out of Vietnam. This is the plane I was on. I was sitting at the window and I wanted to get a couple pictures of Vietnam before I left. And it was as we took off from Tansanute Air Base, we were taking off. And this is the last picture. That's the coast of Vietnam as we left the coast. Now, one more here. Oh, up in the sky. That's what it looked like. Okay. Now we're back. This was in Seattle, Washington. They flew into Seattle. That's my Chuck again, a couple of us. Of course, after you fly for 14 hours, you're going to be a little bit tired. So we were there with our luggage, and but the three of us, we took another flight. It was so crowded up there in Fort Lewis. We got on an afternoon flight and flew back to Oakland Army Base. And that was the plane we came on. That'd be the last shot that I took, the whole group. But that's pretty much, and as I said, the Army, or the military, they hired 14 of these 747s to bring us all back. There was 14 of them lined up at Tansanute today I left. That was in the second last one.
Get me out of here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it. I've had all these for a long time, so I thought maybe I could share a few of the pictures with you for a few minutes and show you what it was like at the end of the war.
Yeah.
So as I said, one of the big jobs I had towards the end were those barracks. One of the barracks was like a warehouse, and we accumulated boxes and boxes of files on all the local national people that worked for the U.S. government over there. So they wanted to get all that out of there before we left, because if that got in the hands of North, it wouldn't have been nice for the people if it got in the hands of the North Vietnamese. So I was in charge. I had a crew of people. We went over and we boxed all this stuff up. And we sent it all to Hawaii. I never heard what happened to it, except that I know somebody in Hawaii was a little upset with the way we boxed all this up. But I couldn't read Vietnamese, so I just put everything together, sealed up the boxes, and sent it to them. So
It got there.
that was how it got sent there.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much my experience at the end of the war. Anyway, got any questions? Okay.
Interesting.
I hope you
You're gonna
enjoyed the
say
show.
your
Yeah, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you really. So, yeah, a little bit. As I said, sometimes it's easier to see the pictures rather than to try to tell the story about it. Yeah, a little bit of what it was like for me at the end of the war over there. Just to let you know, I have 2 or 3 more discs of pictures from Vietnam. I didn't want to bore everything with all of them. But they had, yeah, I thought you were
It's nice to see a carousel.
yeah, the carousel. Yeah, that you don't see too often. As I said, my dad worked 41 years at Kodak, so everything in our house was, you know, film-wise.
Did you come out of Rochester?
Huh?
Did you live in?
Oh, yeah, I
Rochester?
lived in Rochester. I lived in the city until 1990, and we moved to
Okay.
Webster. We've been out here since then. And our kids went to school out here. Well, my
Okay.
daughter went to Bishop Kearney. She was there at the time we
Yeah,
moved
Schaefer's a
out.
big name out here.
And then my son, he ended up going to Schroeder. He was there, he graduated there in 2003. Right now, he's a finance analyst for Mary Carriola in the city.
Okay.
And that's why I was running a little late. My son and my grandson came over. He was out to Eastview Mall, I don't know, and then he took my grandson out for a music lesson. He called, "Dad, can we go over for lunch?" I said, yeah, but you gotta be out here by 1:30 because I gotta be up at the museum. So they swung over. But
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the picture. Huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we
Yeah.
did.
Nice
Yeah.
pictures.
Sometimes it's a little easier describing what I went through, but my wife may have a little bit more to
Can
add.
we have,
Yes.
can we have
I'll
Whit
let-
tell her story?
Yeah.
Huh? You can have her tell her.
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool off.
Help
Thank you very
yourselves
much.
to refreshments, we'll turn the
Yeah.
lights on, and
Yeah.
she wants to tell her
Pam is
story.
there.
See the dress I wear up here and the school.
Yeah, that's the Vietnamese,
The Vietnamese, I went to high school and we wear uniform. And that's how we wear. The dress like this
Oh,
and the
nice.
pants like this. And we shoe or the,
Wow.
Cute
Yeah.
shoes.
so the dress it's very, have two, what we call this?
áo dài.
Áo dài, we call áo dài long dress. And then it's so, because when we sit down, we should, just like she said, move over like this. It's very, yeah, very nice. That's why, and that's how we go school, we wear like that. But how we go high school, we got to play, right? What we do,
We gotta tie it up.
we tie together like this. And then we run around. We run around to play. Otherwise, because if we run around, it's very easy to tear out. And it's not fun. So anyway, talk about my story. I went to high school, very famous girl high school. In order to get in that high school, we have to pass very hard exam, entry exam. 10% student can get in there. And I think I loved it. You too. You went to high school where she was at?
Well, I just got in, and then we went to Vietnam. I mean, we went to America.
Okay.
Có mới gì thi đậu xong mới
Oh, yeah,
lớp 6.
cool
Yeah.
thing.
I'm like really young.
Yeah, you remember, it's not easy to get in that high school, so, and that's a girl high school only. So, what should I say now? And,
It's called Gia Long.
yeah,
Yeah, that means
and
the
then
long dress.
after high school, I went to, let's see, oh yeah. When I went high school, after high school, I don't know, I love money. I like get the job with good money, right? So I know by then, there is the job they call computer programmer. However, in college, they didn't touch yet. They haven't touched that course yet. So I went to night school, and some officer, they went to American to learn about that. So they opened a small class. So I went to that class, and for computer. During the day, I work at payroll department
Yeah.
with him,
But
and
you
then
went to
at
the
night,
PS too.
I went to school for the computer. So after he left, and then I get in a job they call computer programmer in McAfee.
Oh, defense
Yes.
attaché office.
So, and then I worked there for until 1975. I got a good job, and then in my work, they know we're going to lose our country by communists. So they have the plan for my family to move to help us to get our country, which the day they set for us is May 5th. However, on the March 29th, we lost country. And then so I and my sister, we just, and a brother too. First, I want to get I was single girl, right? Of course, we worked together in the payroll department, I told you.
73.
And then the day he left, I just say, bye, Bill. I didn't think ever we met again. Nothing. Because I have no chance. I worked there, I said, why? I never have chance to go to America, no way. So we just say bye, and then we didn't feel very happy at all.
Yeah.
And we just friends only. We went out one
I
time.
corresponded through your office, remember?
Huh?
The fellow you worked with, he let me use his address to send letters to you. The defense attaché office you were.
Yeah.
I used to send letters to you.
Oh yeah. And then we keep in touch by write to each other. Yeah. And then so on the March 29th,
April 29th.
I and my brother and my sister, I told my family, say, oh yeah, I have to back a little bit. When I work for the government, with as computer programmer, you know how much they pay me? What was very high? They pay me 25 cents an hour.
Oh my God.
However, with that 25 cents an hour, I'm a rich girl because of very good money by then, right? So on the last day, they know we lost country, so they give me the lump sum after 2 years. How many years? Is $250. Real money, not real dollars. No. Because when I was over there, that's the problem is they didn't use the real dollars. They have something else. What do you call that thing?
Well, they
Remember?
had a military pay certificate.
Yeah. So
which we could use on the base, but you.
yeah. However, in the last day before they give me real money, so $250, they pay me. I'm so happy. So I give my mom half of that. I keep half. I say, Mom, you keep this half, and I keep this, and we don't know what the future will be. So the 29, I told my mom, I said, I try to go to looking for the place where we all get out here. So of course, I could not find anywhere, and then remember the story of the helicopter to pick up the people.
Yep.
I was on that building that night, and I could not make helicopter because I missed the last
Miss
flight.
Saigon.
So and then that night we slept on that building. The first night ever I got out of my house. So I slept in that building, and then next day I and my sister and brother we just run around to find out the place to get out, and I had a bag, and then when we run around, my brother, but somehow he lost that. So I have only this purse. This is one of the reasons I kept it. This purse with $125 in the purse, and without the second load, with anything, just the clothes I was wearing that day. So we run around, and then somebody told me, he said, there is nowhere you get out here, but there is, you go to the harbor, there is the boat over there. So we ran over there, three of us, I and my sister and my brother. Where then we jump on one boat, but the ship like almost like they show very big ship.
Yeah, the big freighter.
And then when we sit down there, they said, oh, this boat is not running anywhere, you go over there. So I jump over there, and the boat started running. My sister jumped on this boat, the end of this boat. I jump on the end, and the boat just keep running. And then my brother never make it.
Oh.
So I mean, it's hard to tell the feeling of that day, you know. So and then the boat just keep running, and I didn't know where the boat go. We didn't know where we end up to.
Yeah.
So we just just like lost people, you know.
Yeah.
And then at night the boat just keep running, and at night I slept on the floor. And then my purse with $125. That's my treasure. What I do, I just throw on the floor for the people. Didn't pay attention, didn't know that I have for not much, but for me that's my treasure, you know. So I just throw that, and then I slept on the floor, and then the 3 days later, when the food we eat, we just have to share what we could have. We share together. I didn't have any. We eat like mì gói, the packet.
When did you leave that day?
Huh?
When did you leave that day? You remember the date on the ship? Is
Oh,
it
no,
April 29th?
No, March 20.
No,
No,
April.
April 29th?
March 29th, well, yeah, you got out
Yeah, you got out April
April 79.
29.
It was April 29.
So
Is it April 29
Yeah,
or
yeah.
March
It was
29?
about April 30th, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That's what
sorry.
you wrote,
No,
yeah.
because the reason why, because my father was in charge of those ships.
Oh.
And he
Oh,
allowed
ship?
those the ship that you just
Yeah.
said at
Right.
the harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
He
harbor.
signed so that people can take those ships to get out
Yeah.
from Vietnam, because at that time it was chaotic.
Kayak, I shot too. Luckily, kayak because I jumped on that boat.
Because those are
Yeah.
one of the boats that we took to get out from
okay.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
So my father was
So
the
you
one that.
must sleep in the room. I slept on the floor. So anyway, so
Okay.
thank you. I'm glad you correct that because I have been for a long time.
How old were you? How old were you?
29.
29 years old.
29 years old. 29.
What
yes.
happened to your brother?
Pardon me?
What happened to your brother that
He stayed back there,
Oh,
and
he-
he's still there now.
oh, is he really?
So both of us get on the boat, and then so we share. And then the first stop is we stop at
Yeah,
Philippines.
Was it Singapore?
Huh?
You went to Singapore.
Singapore?
You told me it's Singapore, and then you went to the Philippines from there.
Singapore. What's
Yeah.
that, Singapore?
No, usually we stop by the Philippines first.
Okay.
Subic
Yeah,
Bay.
might have been Subic
No,
Bay.
no,
Well, you
before
ended up in
Philippines,
Subic Bay.
we
You ended up
we
in
stopped
Subic Bay.
somewhere in the Singapore. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right, Singapore. But the Singapore very strict country. They didn't let us get in. They come down. They throw us some like bread and food and clothes, old clothes, because they don't have anything to change.
Oh.
So, and then after that, and then they push the boat out. You know, we don't want you. So after that, we went to Subic Bay.
Yeah, Subic Bay.
We went there.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my parents, my
Yeah.
family went. Con với đừng có đi lại chỗ đó đâu.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Subic Bay, and then Subic Bay. So, and then we stayed. Let's see, it took us about a month on the on the
You ended
water.
up
We
in
get
Guam.
the Subic Bay.
Eventually, you ended up in Guam, too.
No, just Subic Bay. We stayed there for a month,
Yeah, I know.
and then we stay in the tent. Honestly, after a month on the boat, I slept in the cat. I say, thanks God, I'm in the land now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, what we do, I have no clothes, so we use the old clothes and then everything to survive. Right. So after a month, they move us to Guam, right?
Yeah, you know. That's where you called me.
Yeah. And
4
then
o'clock in the morning. You called me.
and then we keep. He wondered. He went to Red Cross to ask
Yeah.
them. They say, I have a friend living in Vietnam, but now they lost contact. They know where is she. So he saw the
Yeah, Red Cross. Oh,
Jim
Jim,
Cross.
Jim
Remember
Cross.
Jim Cross?
Yeah, Jim
Yeah,
Cross.
Jim Cross said, why don't you write a note? And I pass in the camp to see her. So one day I went to community center and I saw his note.
Oh.
Yeah, so I said, so I called him at midnight. I
No,
said,
4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
I said, Bill, I'm here.
Ah.
And then he started.
It's destiny.
Could make a
God
movie.
Yeah, right.
Well, that was in July, but it was a few months. It wasn't until August 1st he got over here
Yeah,
to
right. So-
California. Yeah,
So,
that was
yeah.
the Air Force base.
And then they moved us after a month in the warm. They moved us to Paddington, Camp Paddington, in California. Holy cow, it was so cold. At night we sleep in the tent. They give us the heavy jacket. Was you like that too?
No, to Gulfview, Arkansas.
Yeah.
We went to Wake Island and then Arkansas and then Rochester.
Yeah, different camp. It was so cold, so I have to heavy jacket to sleep at night on the car. So we stayed.
Fortunately, you're only there 3 days, so.
Yeah, I was there 3 days, and then they, I get out there, and then I went to Rochester.
Yeah,
They
I met her at
sponsor
the
us,
airport.
go to
My
Rochester.
daughter's 3rd.
Yeah.
So me and my parents
you
met her out at
sponsored
the
her?
airport. She and her sister came in.
Right.
So, and I wondered why she had a heavy coat on, and I said, "It's
Yeah, he
summertime,
wonder why I wear the jacket.
I said, but save it, you'll need it in a few months.
It was freezing.
Yeah.
So when I come here, and then I lost my job, I lost my house, I lost everything. Now what I do? I have good job. I want that back. So I went to MCC. My English is not good either. We have the English over there different with English over here.
I was younger, much
Yeah,
younger, so that's
forget
why.
about it. So I went to MCC to try to get English.
Yeah.
I took computer. We had to get some major things, so I took the computer. Computer is nothing for me because 2 years I work at computer programmer. I know very much already. So the main thing is I got the English language, right, to talk to people, and then until and then I work for school for
Yeah,
a
then you
couple.
work for the Big N, remember?
No, the first job I worked at here in the Big N store in Henrietta. Anybody remember
The
that?
big, what was it?
The Big N
Big N, it was like a
Is that nice
Kmart
there?
type store.
It's what's year? 1970.
75.
75.
Because I remember you had to work on Thanksgiving Day, I had to go. pick
Grocery
you up at
store?
4 o'clock.
I don't
still
know, I don't
remember
remember.
Yeah. So and then I went to MCC and to get English, and finally after a couple small job here, I got the job in the Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Oh, very nice.
So I work as in IT department as a
great.
computer programmer, and then after
Yeah, benefits.
26 years,
That's
I
great.
got the special package 208, right, Bill?
By the end of 208.
The end of
Yeah,
208
thank
because
you.
the economy went down. So they give me very special package to retire after 26 years.
Oh, very
I worked
nice.
there.
Well, good for you.
So now I'm here, so
Yeah.
Also too, she's a very good friend with my aunt.
Oh.
Yeah,
She's there for my aunt now.
yeah, thank you very much. So
Yes.
we try to
Yeah, she's, well, she
to help each
stayed
other.
here a year and then she
So-
married a Vietnamese fellow that she met on the boat out in Oregon. She moved out to Portland, Oregon. She's still out in Oregon. Well,
Your sister.
the
Your sister
original,
lives in Oregon?
then-
after about 20 years.
After I settled down here, and because all my
Yeah.
sister and brother over there,
Yeah.
so we try to get them over here. I sponsor them.
Quite a few are over
But this,
there, yeah.
we're over here, so most of us over here, because I came from only 12 children in the family.
Wow.
However, because
Only?
my father worked for the U.S. Agency, so he had very good job, and we live in very big house. So with 12 kids in the house, we have maid, we have cook. I come here.
Wow.
He have maid, he is a maid, I'm the cook. I miss those.
We missed out everything. We have,
I miss everything.
yeah.
But those things I miss the most.
It's hard to believe it's
So
been
that's how
50 years.
my life
It's
so,
50 years
I
next
thought
year.
that 50 years
Yeah.
it's been.
But we got married in 77. 2 years after she came, we got married in.
Yeah, the
August
reason
of
is
77.
because as I told you, I didn't want to marry right away. I want to establish my life first, and I got my job first.
Smart lady.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, thank you very
Very nice.
much.
Really enjoyed your story.
Yeah.
Thank you. And